Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, welcome to another Mailbag brought to you by Blackjack Apprenticeship. As always, this is SD1 here with my compadre, Joe748. What's up, Joe?
How's it going? We're not alone here.
We're not. We have a very, very special guest, the patriarch of the BJA family, Mr. Colin Jones. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. How are you guys doing?
Good. All right, let's kick this off. What do you got for us, Joe?
The first question is, on our latest YouTube video, we did another dealing session, small bankroll versus big bankroll dealing session. It was about 100K bankroll, and then SD1 was playing the part of the 10K bankroll. Hopefully you didn't lose all of your bankroll and now you're just down to 10K, but I trust that. That was just for
the recording.
Okay, good. But the question is, with SD1's 10K bankroll, is that in today's world a profitable reality? Is it enough to start?
We get this question in different forms a lot. And the real answer is it's going to come down to your comfort level and the responsibilities that you have. And are you single? Are you able to, do you have a mortgage? Do you have kids? Are you married? Like, all those things play into it. But my generic answer right now is if you're going to be a full timer, I personally think you need about 50K to really go at this. And I would up that if you have a family and, you're walking away from a job with benefits and all that stuff, which I don't actually recommend you just jump in and do. I think you should do what I did and kind of leg in of the AP life and kind of part-time it and grow your bankroll even more and hold on to that job and just see how it fits in. And then you can make a decision as opposed to like full send and like, I'm going to do this. I'm not mad at you for wanting to do that, but if you have other responsibilities, maybe take a beat.
I'm going to say it comes down to your game opportunities. I just pulled up the pro betting software here and started plugging away. And if you have access to a decent game, this is 6-deck, hit 17, but it does have surrender. And it's got, I'd say, average pen can get about $30 an hour with 3 to 4% risk of ruin. You could be a little more conservative with your bet spread and get that risk down a bit, but then you might be in the, $25 an hour range. If you don't have access to decent games, it's going to be worse, either riskier or lower EV. If you've got access to better games, it gets better than that. But you're not going to be making $100 an hour with a 10K bankroll with 1% risk of ruin. But I've said this a lot of times. I was content to kind of grind it out because if your game is perfect, your bankroll size is 10K for now. If you can reinvest that money, that is kind of the beauty of card counting, is that your bankroll compounds. We had a talk at the boot camp 2 days ago about this, that, okay, you're starting at 5K, what do you got to do? And what do things look like? But then when it grows, all of a sudden things are looking different. And then you get up to that 50K plus bankroll, and that's more when you might be able to consider full time. So is it worth it for you? Depends access to games and what your time is worth. But I think it's very, very doable. Unless you're like, well, gosh, I'm not going to count cards unless I can make $100 an hour with almost no risk.
What about the other element, though? Yes, it does grow, but there's also downturns that happen. So it can go the other way temporarily for 200-300 hours. With that in mind, if you're also living off of your bankroll, it's true that your bankroll can grow, but it can also retract.
Oh, yeah.
And if you're living off of your bankroll and your expenses are coming out of it, that makes it retract more. So it's a sustained losing period.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I'm assuming if you're starting with 10K, you're not playing full time and living off your bankroll. Most people that I know that are starting with a smaller bankroll, like I did, like Joe748 did, you can pay the bills. You're not withdrawing from your bankroll so that it can compound. I mean, gosh, it's the same if you're like pulling profits out of your index fund every time it goes up a little bit, or anything like that. You let it compound. So you're gonna have to consider that. What are your expenses? Again, you got to have access to games worth your time. But if you're in a market like I was, like Joe748 was, you can absolutely make money with a 10K bankroll. But my suggestion would be, don't like try to live off of that money.
Yeah, and I started with a 50K bankroll, but like I kept my job and I didn't take a dime from my bankroll at all for 6 years. So even with that larger bankroll start, like I was just letting it compound.
What did you do? You were still taking some jobs?
Very rarely. I mean, mid-20s, no kids, no, not very high expense. I was living in a cheap place, so it was easier to seek out low risk, high EV games for a very small bankroll. Now that was like a while ago, so I don't know these days if you can find something like that for a $5,000 bankroll or something.
Yeah. Well, but also you consider inflation, like $5,000 then is a little closer to $10,000 now. And my 2K bankroll is not 2K now, but I was able to, we lived off of my wife's income for those first, 6 to 12 months so that the bankroll could just grow and grow. And then after a year, she quit her job and we were just living on, we had 6-figure bankroll at that point. And still we were young and cheap.
How about this? What would you say to the person, let's say they have 10,000 saved up and there's two approaches. One is I'll stash away that 10,000 and only use it for blackjack. Don't remove or add anything to it. Or the person who has the 10,000 but can add 1,000 or 2,000 every month in addition to that in the future, and they blend that into
anything you add is going to be helpful. If you can add 1,000 a month, then in a year you've got a 20K bankroll. But you can actually bet off of more than 10K at the start. I wouldn't bet off of 20K at the start, but maybe you could bet off of 15K if you truly are able to add 1,000 a month. But I hate to be a broken record. All this assumes your game's perfect. All this assumes you are playing as well as the betting software is assuming that you're playing.
All right. There are slight differences in the double deck basic strategy versus the shoe basic strategy on blackjackapprenticeship.com. Why is that? Is it a conspiracy?
It is.
Particularly 6-6 versus 7.
It's because we don't know what we're doing at Blackjack Apprenticeship. No, we actually added all these extra basic strategies because people would say, well, on Wizard of Odds or on this other site, it has a double deck and yours doesn't have that. And we're like, okay, we'll give the people what they want. But we also have known for the 10 years we didn't have it, we knew, well, adding it will just cause more questions. The bottom line is, if you simulate a card counter playing double deck with our generic shoe game basic strategy or a card counter using a double deck specific basic strategy, they will make the same money. They will make the exact same money. So don't think, well, if I'm going to play double deck, let me learn this double deck basic strategy. The reason we've always taught just learn the one is because that is where the money's at, and then learn deviations as quickly as possible. That's the reason why we encourage learning a blended basic strategy rather than H17 or an S17 basic strategy, is because all those differences are solved when you get to deviations. What you don't need to do is spend a bunch of time learning a couple different basic strategy charts. You need to learn one, then move on to deviations where you make money on those differences. And as far as a double deck deviations chart, I've run all the numbers, and the only thing that's going to move the needle for you as far as EV is insurance, which is where we say on a shoe game, buy insurance at true 3. If you want to be a super nerd like me, then on 8 deck, buy it at 3.2. But at double deck, buy insurance at a true 2.5 or higher. Single deck, buy insurance at a true 1.5 or higher on a 3-2 game.
Very important on a 3-2 game.
It's probably the same for 6-5 now that I think of it.
Yeah.
But you shouldn't be playing 6-5 unless, there's some, magical difference.
Yeah, I just think it's always important to remind everybody that 3-2 is what we play.
Well, we just did a boot camp, and Joe748 pointed out to someone that, for kind of practice, he was playing 6-5 double deck, and then you tell your story.
Yeah, it was, Vegas 6-5 double deck with a average rules, but pretty good cut. So I guess maybe they thought, oh, it still might be okay. I'm not losing
the deck
that
penetration.
much. And actually, if you put it in the pro betting software, I put the bankroll in, hypothetical $50,000 bankroll for this double deck 6-5 game on the strip. And it turned out to be, if you're playing with a $50,000 bankroll, I think the risk was like 25%.
Oh.
And it's like $250 an hour if you're playing big, but 25% risk. And then I just switched it for him to see that, hop over to the 3-2 game, and now it's $500 an hour with 4% risk. And it was just sort of like a mind-blowing moment for him to see how huge of a difference it is. And even then, you couldn't start betting until a true 3 on that game to make it 25% risk. Probably would have been even higher if you were betting a true 1-2.
Yeah, and the difference there is it's obviously the payout for blackjack, but also the amount of rent you're paying and for how long you are.
And then he mentioned, but I didn't get any heat. I didn't get backed off. I was like, well, yeah, I mean, you probably won't.
There's a lot of ways to not get backed off that don't generate any EV.
Is it better to play during an empty shift or a busy shift?
Busy, I guess the question is, well, what kind of rounds per hour can you get? And is that worth your time? Sometimes it's busy, but you can still find, if you got the bankroll for it, maybe the $25 or $50 minimum tables are not crowded. And then that's kind of the best of both worlds, because surveillance and pit bosses their attention is split, but you're still able to get good rounds per hour. If it means playing a table with 6 or, God forbid, 7 players at the table, you're going to be playing, 30 or 40 rounds per hour. And if you consider that to a table where you're getting 100, 150 an hour, you're making 1/5 or 1/4 as much. And so the question would be, is this worth my time to make 1/4 as much? Or another way of putting it is, if you play 1/4 as long at an empty shift, you make the same money. Do you want to play 4 times longer for perceived cover? So that's the way I think about it.
Yeah, I think this question a lot of times ends up being like a preference question or a will I get backed off question, where what it should be is how we should always be thinking, and that's EV.
Yeah, and getting time in is important, but it's like, I want the most money at the end of the day. I don't think I'm going to get backed off 5 times faster, but I am going to generate EV 5 times slower.
Yeah.
I remember playing at Tachi Palace in California, and that place was so busy all the time. And I kept trying to make it work, and there was no heat at the time. It was cool, and I had a room there, and so it was nice to try to play, but time after time I kept giving up, and I would drive like an hour to the other casino because it was so much better. It was just no one there. And even if you do find a table with less people at a busy place, usually it starts filling up in the next couple hours. So I'm not a fan of playing at a busy casino, because even if you're at a busy casino, there's a lot going on. Your max bet sometimes will still stick out so much to the point where you still are getting scrutinized.
Cherokee is like this too. It gets so busy. It doesn't matter. It's huge, but it is so busy. And I got really annoyed playing there just because of the fact that like I cut down on my EV or my hourly because of how busy it was. And I decided that the way to play it was 100% just walking around and wonging nonstop. That was like the most optimal way for me to do it. But at the same time, like even though I'm wonging in, the EV still got really hurt because of how busy it was. And it's also just annoying because all the players at the table, and then, you wong in and you get the good count, and then all the good cards go to the other players. You're like, gosh dang it. I mean, that's part of it. It's fine. But there's so many reasons why a busy table is not great for us.
My favorite times to play are when it starts thinning out, but they still have most of the tables open.
Yeah.
So this could be Thursday. It could be on the weekend, but then that time it's thinning out is later and later. But I loved like Thursday. They're going to have more tables open than Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, because Thursday's the new Friday. Or Sunday, where it's been open and busy, but then it starts to thin out. Maybe this is around 9 o'clock at night, and I can get kind of, they've got a lot of tables open, but it's not so crowded, and I can get kind of that best of both worlds. That was my ideal. In Vegas, it could be when they first start opening more tables. Maybe it's around 4 p.m. and they open up a bunch more tables before the rush, and it's not yet so crowded that it's busy, full tables. Yeah, that was my ideal.
And in Vegas, that like around 4 p.m. when they start opening more tables, it's also like another hour or two before they start upping table minimums also.
Yes. It's like, hey, it's still a $25 table.
Yep.
It's going to be a $50 table in an hour or two.
Like you were talking about wonging in when it's busy. Yeah, the only plus side of that is there's so many bodies around. They don't see you standing there, not counting anyway. But yeah, the opposite. It's just usually not worth the EV hit. I also love the times playing when they're so preoccupied, like starting at the beginning of the shift and they're trying to open up all the table. There's just that brief moment of it's just cool. And then when they're changing out all the boxes, counting all the money, that's also a time when they're usually not paying attention.
But given that we've probably played any hour of any day at a casino, if it's full enough, I'm just going to wait. I'll do something else. I'm not going to be like, well, I'm in a casino. Let me generate a fifth as much EV. I'll wait for a better time if it's that crowded.
For the time to back off question two, the big thing you guys, everybody that needs to get into their head is that you just never know. I understand the philosophy behind like the most experienced surveillance workers want to work day shift. That's probably mostly true, but it's not necessarily true. Like I've met surveillance people that 100% love graveyard. Surveillance people are weird people to begin with. So there, you can't count on that is my point. So that's not something that should be necessarily guiding your decision. EV should be guiding your decision.
What's the best long-term outcome one could expect by flat betting with perfect basic strategy plus deviations? I've learned 42 deviations.
I did a deviation video podcast recently where I answered some questions like this, but it's still not going to be worth it's still probably, I got expanded deviations turned on, half deck divisor, the best shoe game you'll find in Vegas, and we've got 85% risk of ruin, and flat betting $100 is worth $9 an hour on a 10K bankroll. So hold on, let's just bump this up. We're going to make it 100K bankroll, and flat betting 100 is now 20% risk of ruin, 20% chance of losing your 100K. I'm sorry, I didn't have all the bets in. 100% risk of ruin and negative EV. Yeah, you're not going to make money flat betting. Deviations add 20 to 30% to your EV. That means 70 or 80% is from your bet spread. Deviations aren't enough to cut it. It wasn't enough to cut it. Well, okay, it was with early surrender, but the single deck Vegas days, it still wasn't, and you had to have some sort of spread to beat the game. So wishful thinking, but not going to cut it.
So one more qualifying question. So technically speaking, if you're wonging out at any negative, you do have a spread.
Yes. All right, let me see what I can get here. Okay. This would be so ridiculous. This would be ridiculous. But if you're flat betting 100 and you leave below a true -1, then with $100,000, you could make $38 an hour with 1% risk of ruin.
Oh my gosh. Let me get this with all the expanded.
And the best rules you could find.
Best rules you
in
could
Vegas
find
on a 6 deck.
And so that includes late surrender.
Yep.
You wong out at a -1 true count on 100K bankroll and you're making $38 an hour.
Yeah, -2. Yeah. $38 an hour. I mean, do you want to risk $100,000 to make $38 an hour?
No, but my thought here is for that hobbyist, that rare hobbyist that wants all the comps.
Yes.
This is the kind of thing that they want to think about. We do not recommend this in any way. This is not what we do. But there is that person out there that just loves the casino and they want the comps for them and their wife.
But you know what? What are the odds that person is willing to wong out every time it hits true -2?
Yeah, Yeah. And the other thing is the casino, though you may not get backed off for this, they could and very probably would adjust your rating.
Yeah. So I don't want to get into some of the advanced betting stuff we talk about at a boot camp, but there are creative solutions that can fit the right person. But to go back to your point of this, if this person waited, if they played through a true -2, all of a sudden it goes from 1% risk of ruin and $40 an hour to 11% risk of ruin and $18 an hour. So this would have to be the most disciplined person that doesn't mind spending their time for, some comps and $38 an hour.
It's a hard way to make easy money.
Real hard.
Yeah. And also, you're going to have, it's not like you're not going to have huge swings with this as well. Like you're going to be down 30,000, you'll be up 20,000.
What's the standard deviation?
I don't know. I started screwing around with it more. I changed it to $500 bets, and you could.
And then when that bankroll dips down 10 or 15, 20,000, then it's even harder.
Yeah.
To maintain that 1%. Anyway, we're going off.
Here's how I'll sum it up. Get betting software, play with the betting software, have a perfect game, and figure out an approach that works for you. People asking just want to be handed some secret solution. You've got, there's so many variables. From the first year of me being a card counter, we needed betting software. If you think that you're going to make it as a card counter without, a little plug for Blackjack Apprenticeship Pro Betting software that works on your phone in a bathroom stall at a casino and can do expanded deviations or not, or whatever. But whatever, regardless, you can't guess at this stuff. So run the numbers yourself. It's very easy to do when you watch a video or two on how to use this software. You can start doing it for yourself.
Speaking of deviations, how and where do you find additional deviations for specific game conditions? For example, finding deviations for those negative counts on a early surrender 10 game. I can't find any place to find those.
That's funny because we talked about this with Daryl Purpose, but you don't need to know a lot of negative deviations because hopefully you're not playing really negative counts, or if you are playing real negative counts, you should have your minimum bet out there. It shouldn't be a big lever of EV. It won't be much of a lever of EV. If you really want to know, but for a game like that, you're going to need to use something like CV data to simulate an obscure game. We do have early surrender deviations on BJA. If you really need more than what we provide, which I don't think you do, but if you say, well, I do, well, then you're going to need something to simulate it.
Along that same vein, you have expanded deviations on your website. What do you think about when you split tens and you double down in your soft 21?
I think about how awesome it must look to be doubling down what looks like a blackjack. Well, I don't know what they mean. What do you think when you do that? What do you think?
They said, is the index the same as splitting tens and doubling down on an ace 9?
Oh, those are different. Oh, I thought it meant splitting tens and then doubling on a soft 21.
Yeah, that's what he's saying. Yeah, he said just that. So the number is higher, and I'll say this. If you thought you got heat splitting tens regularly, doubling down on your soft 21 after you split tens, you'll really feel the heat.
Really? Oh, okay. I guess I hadn't really thought of it that way. I feel like the splitting tens is kind of the known card counter move. I don't know that doubling a soft 21 is a known card counter move. It just feels really exciting to me.
No, it is. And it's great. And it's even great when it works. And I guess on the flip side of that, when it doesn't work, you look like an idiot, and that's great for you.
Yeah.
So I think it just depends on the place. But I just remember the one time that I was doing it when I had this is probably one of my biggest hands betting max, and I had 2 10 splits on both hands, and I got to double soft 21 multiple times. I won the hand and then got trespassed immediately right after that hand.
Okay. I don't think I ever got backed off for doubling a soft 21, probably for splitting tens. I mean, either this person is a BJA member and then just look at the expanded deviations chart, or they're not a BJA member, in which, what are you doing? Don't you want access to the best tools and information out there? But yeah, a little pro tip for people unwilling to buy a membership, doubling a soft 20 is the same indices as splitting tens.
I play a 4-deck game with about 25% penetration. The max bet is $100. It's 2 hours away from my house. I'm a young card counter. Are there any tips for making decent EV on garbage circumstances?
4 decks with 1 deck cutoff isn't garbage. That's a pretty good game if the rules are okay. That's actually a good game if the rules are okay. $100 max. I mean, we played $100 max for the whole almost first year of playing. So I don't know. What's your time worth? And if it's your only option within a couple hours, then, we just put out a YouTube video a few months ago about how to try to help preserve a local casino. I would consider that because it's going to be a further drive once that place is gone.
It's the same approach as even if you had $100,000 bankroll or more, this is the same approach as let's take this person's situation. Let's say this is the only casino that this person has. The only way to make more money with this circumstance is to see if all of the dealers are truly cutting off 25% or if there's any of them that are doing even a little bit less. Any of them.
25% is not bad on 4 deck.
Yeah. But just to get more EV, it's like
can,
let's say there's one superstar dealer that's cutting off even less, then figure out when they're working in a sly way and favor those shifts and go to that person.
Or just keep your head up when they are working and know the moment they show up at a blackjack table, you want to be there. SD1, you shared a story, you did some of this optimizing for a local game, and you mind just sharing a brief version of that?
That was just playing with the spread to get to the point where I was extremely comfortable with the EV that I was getting. It was a good game. It was a 6-deck, 1-deck pen, stand 17 game. It did not have surrender, but it had all the other rules. And generally speaking, the room most of the time was not all that busy, and I could get heads up or one other player, which was nice as well. I mean, I came to you, Colin, and you had this whole idea, and we worked it out, ran the numbers, and I found a comfort level with the risk of ruin being under 2% and the EV at that time being great for me. And it got me a lot of time there. And the reason I got picked off is because I just had one of those monster couple of shoes one night and won a lot. And I turned on my act to the nth degree. And I thought maybe I got away with it, but I think I threw the table hold off, and they ran me down as a result of that. And I think maybe they had run me down at a certain point anyway, but because of a combination of a lot of factors, including the low-key spread I was using, they decided that I wasn't a threat. Well, when I won a bunch and they ran me down again, they decided I was a threat.
Yeah, and if you're wondering kind of the ideas we're talking about, check out that video. It's free on YouTube, but I kind of just share, hey, these are the things you can do to try to preserve a local casino. And I liked that you shared that anecdote at the boot camp.
All right. How big should my session wins be to reduce heat?
Yeah, this is one of the points, is keep it lower.
I tried to keep my wins, knowing the action that this place took. I really tried to keep my wins and losses under 5K. That's kind of what I targeted based on what I was seeing, and it worked really, really well. That particular night that ended up doing me in, it was a count that skyrocketed 1 deck in, and I was already 3 times past that number. Well, I wasn't going to walk away from a positive shoe. And then at that point, I was like, yeah, so I'm already way above. We'll see if I can get away with it. I'm going to keep playing now because I felt like if I came back, it would be bad the next time I came back. So I just kept playing, and, they let me play all night. And then they got me the next day.
The best time to get backed off is because you just won too much.
Right.
But if you want to try to preserve a place, 5,000 is a number I've heard from some casinos that it's an automatic review. And it usually is later that night, they're going to review the tapes and run you down. At a large casino like Bellagio, it might be 10,000 or 20,000.
Yeah.
At a small casino, it could be a couple grand is enough that they're like, oh my gosh, what's happening here? But know your audience, know what other people are betting, and then try to figure out what seems like a reasonable number. And, the way I always put it is better to win 10 grand over 3 or 4 sessions than in one session if you want longevity. I mean, if you're traveling and you don't care, win 10 grand in one session.
Yeah. And I think an important point here with that particular situation is that I had a shoe that won a ton. It was $15,000 in one shoe. So I was like literally threefold. And at that point, because of the strategy that I was playing to play them and the line of demarcation that I had created, I blew so far past it, I made a conscious decision to keep playing. Had I walked away from that, I would have left 5 more hours on the table, and I guarantee I still would have got backed off the next day. So it's got to be fluid. If you blow through it, like, at that point, you got to make a decision. Are they going to keep letting me play tonight?
Yep. I would have done the same thing. There's a chance that you lose it back and then you preserve the place. And if you're not going to lose it back, keep generating EV while you can.
Yeah.
That was a really good point you made about 5,000 win or loss. There's this thought that, if I'm down a bunch, I'm golden until I get it back, and then they might back me off. But if you're truly trying to preserve a local for the most longevity, then you do have to take in consideration, manual review for any buy-in, 5,000 or more, win or loss, definitely a factor.
Yeah. One key component also, because it was a local, is I chip inventoried. And I was playing unrated. They knew me by a different name. It wasn't weird that I always had chips. Like, they didn't care about that.
Mr. Patriarch of BJA, because we have you here, I just wanted to ask, I hear that there's been some changes to the website. There's some updates. So what's been going on, like, behind the scenes?
Yeah. In the last 6 months, we've rolled out training suite updates where there's like the hardest test out you could imagine online. We've rolled out pro betting software updates where we added a lot of features, and we're continually adding to that. We rolled out a mobile training app that's only available to our members. So everything that's in the training suite on, a tablet or larger is now in a mobile app form. We just rolled out this weekend forum and chat room software updates to help both the networking and the, learning through the forum be better than ever. So, we have one mission, and that's to help APs beat casinos for as much money as possible. And we just keep trying to, invest in that.
Speaking of that, we did just wrap up a boot camp, which went really, really well. So stay tuned, because the next one and the dates of it should be announced very, very soon.
It's probably announced by the time this podcast comes out, and it'll be, our last boot camp for a bit. Check it out.
So if you guys aren't sick of our voices and you want to hang out with us in person along with a bunch of other cool pros, definitely consider consultation. Free phone call if you're curious about it.
And we do the consultation call because we want the right people at the boot camp. We care that it's filled with the right kind of people, and we'll help you, we'll help answer your questions about that.
And you guys can be lucky enough to play mine and Joe's favorite game. What do we look like? We can't wait to hear what you thought when you meet us in person.
We'll catch you guys next time.